Alright, what's up y'all, it's LakerFan here. As you can see by the title of today's video, what is the best build height in NBA 2K26? We're here to talk about it, we're here to debate a little bit, and we're here to give you more than just the first place finisher because, let's just be real, I think it's probably 6'8", to be real with you. So, anyway, I first wanted to start us off with the height to speed ratio. I do this every year where I have like an equilibrium, if you will, where something stays the same no matter what, whether it's like a strength rating or a weight number. Exactly, and then I compare it between every height in the game. So in this case, every height that is 230 pounds is this exact speed right here. Now, one thing that stands out is a very weird thing at the bottom, and I talked to Mike about this when I got a chance to talk to him, Mike Wang that is, that in the builder, sure, if you were to go 1 pound heavier on a 7.3, it would then be 65 speed, as in a 7.3 231 pound build would also be 65 speed, just like a 7.2 would be. But it's just kind of odd that they don't fall off at all when it comes to speed between a 7.3 to a 7.2. So, and for that matter, even it's not much fall off from 7.2 to 7.4 even. So I will say I've been a big hater of the tall builds in 2K. I feel like they typically do kind of just fit in really rough on the court and stuff like that. But to be fair, I think they probably move pretty decently fast in comparison to some of the builds that are shorter than them, just because they don't seem to drop off in speed that bad. Now, to be fair, this is a 230 weight comparison. Again, if I were to compare minimum weight on every height, it would look different than this, because 7'4", 230 pounds is minimum weight, and then 6'4", 230 pounds is pretty heavy. So it might not have been a great benchmark or anything. Again, this is not the point of the video entirely, but I did want to at least mention this to you because it's something in comparison, at least with something as a common denominator, if you will. So anyway, as you can see, this is not a big difference in any real height as far as like speed. I feel like typically there's been a pretty heavy fall off. I guess you can see that 6'10 to 6'9 is probably the biggest fall off there is of 5. Everything else about 4, 3, 4 again, 2, 1. Toward the bottom we got like a 0 fall off almost between 6'10 to 6'11, and then quite literally a 0 fall off from 7'3 to 7'2. So I don't know what to say about that one. I don't know if they'll change this or not. It's possible they don't. So I don't even think that really makes 7'3s game breaking either per se. But at least wanted to show you guys this at the beginning of the video to give you a little bit of context, but it's not the end all be all of what creates what I think is the best heights in the game. So here's the thing, fellas. I'm a guy that likes simplicity quite a bit. I like the fact that like I can just show you something, it's exactly what I thought, and you can read it at any given time that you want. All right, so when I'm doing these videos and you see me in the notes off my iPad, just understand that I think it's a good way to bring the video to you. And if you disagree, let me know in the comments for sure. This is the like second or third time I've uploaded a video like this on this exact day, yet I haven't uploaded them in the present. I'm currently recording them all the day before and then gonna drop them on the day that you're watching this. So it's possible that I've already seen some feedback, but I'm not gonna change anything about the video because I've already been recording them on the day before. But anyway, just wanted to, use these as a little bit of an example. But anyway, let's get straight into this. So for anything 6'1 and below, I don't think there's any reason to make the build, if you ask me. I think the shortest you should make a build this year is 6'2", and that is only to get 94 speed with ball, which is Legend Lightning launch by default, and also Kyrie dribble style. Now, Kyrie dribble style is not that great, if you ask me. It's just if you were some weird niche guy that wanted to run it specifically that. It's the only reason you really get it. Now, as far as the badge tiering too, everything stays the same for the max +1s and like all the slots and stuff like that for the +2s all the way up to 6'3", and it barely changes up to like 6'6" or anything like that. We'll have a video probably tomorrow about what max +1 tiering looks like. I'll use the 2K Labs website and shout out to them as well. But I'll probably use that as a guideline and tell you guys where you should put your max +1s on every build height and stuff like that. But that's its own video. It's a lot of information and it's a little bit too much to take in all at once. So let's just go ahead and move along with that. So anyway, 6'3" does get Curry dribble style. Okay, yeah, so I double checked some things I wanted to make sure, so I hit up the old NBA 2K film room on Twitter. Shout out to them for compiling all this data and stuff. But yeah, so 91 plus speed with ball on the Curry dribble style. I already put that in the video, so I guess I could have looked up my own video for it, but hey, why not plug some other people? And then I also looked up Clutch's video right here of him being on a 6'4 point guard, and as you can see, you can only get 90 speed with ball with a minimum weight 6'4. So yes, 6'3" is indeed the only height that can get Steph Curry dribble style, or it's the tallest you can be and get it. So if you're 6'4", you can't get Curry dribble style at that 91 speed with ball. I will say though, in all fairness, while also looking at this list and the video that I've put out of the guard dribble styles, De'Aaron Fox is 90 and Curry sure is 91, but I think De'Aaron Fox is just better anyway, to be real with you. And then same with Ja Morant is probably better as well, and it's even more easily attainable. So literally the only thing that you're kind of desiring, I believe, is Lillard and Curry. Yeah, so they're both 91 speed with ball. So just know with that 6'3" that we're looking at right there, that's the only reason to go 6'3" in my opinion, is that you could get Lillard and Curry dribble style, but that's only if you really, really like them, which I don't think they're that good anyway. So, meh, it is what it is. From this point on, by the way, moving along in the video, I'm going to start having the speed that I showed on that speed comparison, if you will, where they were all 230 pounds. So just know that's what this extra number is. I hope everybody hears this part of the video and wasn't skipping or anything like that, because people are going to be super confused why the heck I got a 96, 95, 93, 89, 86 next to these. But again, that is the speed that they are at 230 pounds, just as some context for you. So it's the same information you were seeing earlier, but just kind of recycled into this one. So anyway, 6'4", tall as you can be for guard animations. Overall, likely a very good height. I think you're going to see a lot of Pro-Am point guards be this type of height, or 6'3". I don't think Pro-Am PGs are going to conform to the whole tall guard meta, if you will. I think that's still going to be something that you need to be the fastest you can possibly be. And even though they'll still run dribble styles that were likely, well, actually, to be fair, you can't run things like De'Aaron Fox and Ja Morant dribble style at 6'5" or 6'6". You're limited to more like Shea and Zach LaVine, which I think are both very good for that matter too. So I don't think it's that bad. But I think they will still want things like the Fox and Ja Morant dribble styles and stuff like that. And then even more so like guard animations that are very specific. So like Curry SIGs, Trae Young SIGs, stuff like that. So 6'4", very likely to be used as a very meta guard height, if you will, in 2K26. So anyway, moving along. We have the 6'5". This is a great height for lockdowns, shooting guards. Same goes for 6'6". They kind of both work the same way. Lockdown, shooting guard, great for tall PGs as well. Like Shea dribble style still fits this mold. Same with Zach LaVine, all the way up to 6'8". So I think pretty much what I'm getting at is, for the offensive side of things, you will see 6'4", some 6'3", just barely sprinkled in. And then a lot of like 6'5" to 6'8" for the park builds and stuff like that for like the point guards. But Pro-Am PGs probably 6'4", 6'3". And then defensively, I don't think 6'4s will really be a thing as a lockdown. I don't think people are going to be desiring there's not a lot of small guard dribble styles you can get in the 6'4 that's even cheap for that matter as a lockdown anyway. And then on top of that too, I just don't think a lot of the guard jumpers are going to be like the most game-breaking thing ever. That's possible, though. It definitely is possible that 6'4 lock could be possible just because of something like Patty Mills, for instance, instead of the swing heights and stuff like that you get for the jumpers. So we'll have to see about that, but as things currently stand, I do think locks will probably gravitate way more toward the 6'5 to 6'8 range. Obviously 6'7", as you can see, switchable pure lock right here. I think 6'7", 6'8" are way more the versatile defender heights. That's how it's always been in 2K. It's like the perfect range that can guard most big players and most small players. And the further you stray away from those, like right in the dead center, 6'7", 6'8", the shorter you go, the harder it's going to be for you to defend big players. The taller you go, it's the harder it's going to be for you to defend small players. So essentially what I'm trying to get at right here is these two heights are always the best height in the game to be able to guard any build in the game. Now, with the addition of 7'4s, I think that decreases ever so slightly, even more and more, toward the 6'7s and 6'8s. It makes it harder for them to guard big builds. They haven't been meta in 2K in a long time for like Pro-Am, for instance. It's been since 2K22 that 7'3 centers were actually considered the best center build in the game. Now, viability is a different story too. It's possible that they could be good in this game, but maybe just not like a definitive best like it was in 2K22. But in 22, you'd never get away with a 6'7 back end or anything like that, like playing power forward in Pro-Am. But it has been a thing in the last 2 years. It's been plenty runnable, and it's really because the close shots just have not been good in the game. So all things considered, 6'7", 6'8" should be able to guard a lot of different builds, but I don't know. It's going to be tough, right? Because, like, here's the thing, and I'm sorry to ramble and stuff like that, but that's what these videos are for, so I hope you can at least appreciate it, and I'm here to just yap, and if you want to hear the information from me and appreciate it, then I appreciate you. But anyway, point being is guards can move really well in this game, right? So I don't know if it's exactly the most desirable year to be a 7-3 or a 7-4 on the same court as people that can dribble really well. I think it's going to be hard to guard them. I think in the general scheme of things, there's a lot of good dribble styles. You can't say the same about the last 2 years. It's been very specific to the dribble styles that are good in this game. And because people can move well, it's inherently more important to have good speed, good perimeter defense, stuff like that. So even 6'9s are a little bit questionable in my opinion when it comes to like the back end ability, like a ProAm power forward. But then on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have super tall builds that are likely going to invest a lot into their like close shots, standing dunks, stuff like that. They're going to be just monsters down low. So it's going to be a hard year, harder than normal, to be able to guard everybody on the court with one specific build, if you get what I'm saying. Now, I will say pick and roll is something that's so consistently in 2K, it's not even funny. It's like almost even more popular than it is in real life, which is a crazy thing to do because it's pretty freaking popular in real life too. But point being is that when it comes with screens, being able to switch on screens is very helpful. Like having both of your two defenders that are involved on the person who guards the center and the person who guards the point guard be able to switch with each other at any given moment is very valuable. One player being able to do it and the other not being able to is a net negative. That's terrible synergy. Like having a do-it-all build on the back end, but a super small guard that can only guard the other team's guard is not good inherently. So if you have a 6'7", 6'8", try and pair up with another 6'7", 6'8", and you two will have good synergy together. And it kind of makes it more of a natural good fit. And it's hard for a 6'8" to really like fit on the court well unless it's paired with another 6'8", if you ask me. And especially in this game, I have no idea what the back end like power forward meta is going to be. I think it's going to be 6'8", but again, if they can't stop the bigs, that's a hard debate, man. I don't want to go too deep into the discussion with you guys, but again, it's kind of what we're here for. So, but it's just the problem is I don't know who's all really with the comp pro-am stuff. Like, who cares about stuff like that? But let me just fill you in. If you don't want to hear it, you can skip a couple, like a minute in the video or so. But anyway, the problem with like talking about like the hypothetical of my 6'8" can't guard the other team's center on pro-am. The thing with that is that that's what rotations are for very heavily. Like if you run, there isn't such a thing as zone defense in comp pro-am. It's just matchup based of like cross matching. This is an NBA concept too, but like essentially what I mean is your power forward guards the other team's center. Your center guards the other team's power forward. Your point guard guards the other team's lock. Your lock guards the other team's point guard. So it's like 4 different matchup switches that happen with every comp pro-am team. And what I'm trying to get at here is, just because you making a 6'8" power forward can't guard the other team's center one-on-one at a super high efficient rate, that's what rotations are for. When you rotate out of the play, you are going to have your center rotate down when the other team's center rolls so that your center, who is 7 foot or 7'1", something like that, can drop and now be the defender down low of the other team's center. While at the same time, you're helping on the screens because you're mobile and you're fast and switchable. You're stepping up and helping on those screens up to the point guard. And when the point guard's getting open, you have to step up and now become his defender. And then you're going to rotate your on-ball defender out of the play and then get your big man down to the paint to rotate down to the other team's center on the roll. So point being is, it's not always as cut and dry as my 6'8" can't guard the other team's center down low. I need to be 6'10". The problem with that is now that you became taller, you're A, not as good at guarding the other team's point guard in the pick and roll. B, you can't hedge as good, so you can't like show to the point guard while your lockdown's getting screened and then get back to the center. So you're a liability in multiple ways. So it's just tough. You gotta wait on the gameplay and see what is gonna be the right way to play things. But the truth of the matter is 6'8" is always a good height, and 6'9" probably is if 6'8" isn't. So we're going to have to see a crazy 2K for you to ever think you'd have to be 6'10" to play power forward in Pro-Am. And even at that, like I said, it's going to be a more rotation heavy game if it were such a problem. So I know it's a little bit of a tangent right there, but I want to fill you guys in on how this whole meta development works, right? Because I'm not someone who's like a cheeselord, right? I don't come out here and just play comp stage the same way every single year for 7 years in a row since 2K19 or anything like that, right? But what I am is someone that knows how to exploit the game and wants to do that. I want to be a coach when I get older. So like that's already something that inherently comes with coaching, is finding the strategies that actually work in the most effective way. And that is what a meta is, all things considered. So call me a meta developer if you want. It's possible, but I don't think so. I think typically I like to find the way people are wanting to run the meta and like figure out the counter to that. So anyway, that's a long tangent, but I just wanted to yap a little bit, so I hope that didn't disturb too many people. Anyway, moving forward, we have the 6.9. We already kind of yapped about them for quite a bit, but what I do want to mention is the max plus ones on 6.8, 6.9 are crazy. So that's why like they're already going to be a huge talking point. I didn't even just talk about the fact that like point forwards at 6.8 are going to be crazy, but like there's that too. So 6.8 is the best height in the game, undoubtedly. We'll come back at the end of the video and do a full recap of like what's the next best 2 or 3 or something like that. But 6.9s, they should be decent, but I don't expect them to be like, you know, popular, I guess, is my thing, because 6.8s are so good. It's kind of like what happened, and I explain it later in this video, about how like last year 7-footers having extra attributes kind of took over and made it so the neighboring heights of the build were just extinct. You didn't see 6.11s, you didn't see 7.1s in like 2K25. That's just how it is, because footers were so good. So it inherently makes those neighboring heights just useless. Now you still saw 6.10s, but like I said, the 6.11s were just too close in usefulness and like the toolkit that they had to 7 foot. So it just inherently was a bad build if you made it, because footers just had so much more attribute points and stuff like that. Now that's kind of the thing with 6.8. I'm not here to say 6.8s have way more attribute points, but it's hard to find a role for 6.9, and you can see what I say right here is if mashing and standing meter dunk in ProAm is extreme and height plus interior D is extremely necessary to play interior defense, then 6.9s could see some use. Now, me personally, I have thoughts of maybe even still using my 6'10 in ProAm and guarding the other team's center and playing back end, if you will, but that's some super like out of necessity, off meta stuff that like is fitting into my team's really weird mold. So like it's not exactly the normal situation you'd see. So when you see me do that, don't think of me as a hypocrite. It's literally just that my team's built different. Whether it's for better or worse. But anyway, like I said, 6.9s, don't expect them to be super common, but like they could be something that's used in ProAm as a power forward, maybe a little bit, and maybe people use it as like a oversized point forward. But what I think is really the fun oversized point forward, and why I said 6'10 is the fun build height, it's because you get standing dunks, you get to be a big man, you get a lot of different max plus 1 tiers and stuff like that are more related to like being able to dribble in a more fun way and stuff like that. And then on top of that too, it's just literally you're a big man that gets to use the SIGs of a big. So you look like a big, but like you can still kind of play like a guard. So I will say, I don't think 6'10 fits into anything other than just the fact that it's the shortest big man that there is in the game. And that's inherently what leads to point center being popular. But yeah, as far as like the mainstream stuff, I mean, sure, like I said, mainstream point center height, but it's not going to be a common center build height. I think that's way more likely 6'11, 7 foot, 7'1. That little trio right there of the neighboring heights of 7 foot are the things you're really going to see centers make their builds as like the 5s. Now, do I think a 6'10 could get away with playing 3s consistently? I think it could be doable. I think it could be very, very doable. But again, guards are moving, and in previous years where guards weren't even moving, even a 6'10 is questionable on like the most comp 3 setting you can possibly think of. And even like the ones a little bit down from that are still somewhat questionable. But 6'10 could at least kind of hang with a guard. It could probably switch. It could probably do, you know, the things that you need it to do. Anything taller than that, though, I think is where you get cut off as far as like your 3's viability. Now, you could still play 3v3 park with a 6'11 plus all day. Thing is, you're going to run into some demons that are like, you know, hard to guard with those builds. Realistically speaking, I'm just saying, like, that's how it's going to be. But anyway, let's move along to the 6'11, 7 foot discussion and stuff like that. 6'10, like I said, point center, simply put. 6'11. If you don't care about elite driving dunk ability because you're generally going to end up around more like 92, you could go a little bit lower on the weight and get 93, but then that means you can't get gold brick wall. Just understand all of these things are being explained in probably the quickest way I possibly can. But anyway, long story short, if you want to be on some gold posterizer stuff, you can't also have gold brick wall unless you max +1 one of those, which sure, go for it. But that means you could have max +2'd it to like, you know, if you could have had gold brick wall, you could have max +2 that to legend. And now because you have to get it silver, sure, you could get it to gold because you max +1 it, but you can't get it to legend anymore. I don't know. You get what I'm saying. You gotta just, sometimes I gotta just stop yapping. But anyway, let's just keep moving along. For 6'11s, you do lose out on like the elite dribbling ability that you would get with a 6'10 when it comes to the big height. So like, for instance, you don't get 75 ball handle anymore. It's gonna be more like 70, something like that. You could still get stuff like pro behind the back and, you know, eventually Giannis crossover. I think it's a rep reward, which it's at 65 driving ball handle, I mean to say, which I think you can get at 7 foot for that matter even. But anyway, point being, I think what 6'11 is more of a traditional center build equivalent of 6'10, because you barely lose physicals, as you can see. Like, you only go down from that 77 speed to 76 while still keeping, like, you know, the same type of strength brick wall kind of deal like that. Like I said, the only reason I think you'd really go for the 6'11 though is if you don't care about the swag ability of a 6'10 but still wanted to be a really undersized center. And this is where I think it's hard, right? Because if you compare it to a 6'10, it's going to feel like big bro. But then if you compare it to 7 foot, it's going to feel like the undersized big version of a footer. So it's a really weird thing where 6'11's stuck between two such different play styles. And you have to figure out which one a 6'11 is going to play more like. And I think it's going to play more like a 7 footer, just a shorter version of it. Or you could think of it as a 6'10 that doesn't have as much ability to put the ball on the floor, but is just slightly taller, so it feels more like a center. So honestly, it's not going to be as different as I'm making it sound, but you get what I'm saying. Anyway, moving along to the 7 foot. We have a bit of a drop off as far as physicals go. It's not like that crazy or anything like that. And then I get on to kind of yapping about how like last year's people that gravitated towards 7 foot just because it was the best build height in the game are going to kind of linger around because they're like, I'm trying to make my footer from last year. Well, turns out you can't make your footer from last year because it doesn't have like 6 more overall points worth of like attributes to put on compared to the 6'11 and 7'1 like it did last year. So don't expect it to be as overpowered as it was. It's pretty much what I'm trying to get at here. However, last sentence you can see, I think plenty of people fit this mold even if it's not propelled by the 25 build system, so I expect it to still be a popular build. Understand, I'm not trying to diss it entirely. I do still think 7 foot is a common like height that is supposed to be good, but on top of that too, it's just such a hype beast height. Like the fact that it's even, right, at 7 foot clean, people lean toward that so much more than the 6'11 just off the name brand. You can feel yourself like giggling inside about this, right? About how like if you're a center and you think 7 foot, you just think so much like more enforcing and like bigger than a 6'11 does. But bro, it's 1 inch of height. Come on, like anyway, it's like $5.99 versus $6. You know what I mean? Like it feels like it's more, but it's like not really. Anyway, moving along, I think of 7'1 as a sleeper center height. This is like, you know, taller version of 7 foot, which to be fair, I already made a video if you want to check it out of the meta ProAm center kind of mold. It's not meant to be the meta build already. I'm just saying it's like insinuating what typically is and probably will be. That's all I'm trying to get at with the title. But anyway, point being is the footer is kind of more of like it can move better once again, and it's like gonna just feel better, I guess, as far as like movement goes. However, 7'1 doesn't have too much of a drop off as far as the physicals and stuff like that go, and then it's just an inch taller than 7 foot. So again, it's a really weird thing when with these big heights when you compare like a 7 footer to then a 6'11 and a 7'1. Because once again, the neighboring heights of that just feel so similar but in different ways. But then if you compare them both to each other, like a 6'11 to a 7'1, it's night and day difference, you know? That's just how it feels a lot of times with these bigs, that like when you're 1 inch of height away between the two builds, it doesn't feel like a big difference. But then when you're 2, it feels like the world of difference. Anyway, with the 7'1, the big concern would probably be like that the speed with ball doesn't fit into the Giannis dribble style in a lot of cases as far as like, you know, the typical weights that you're going to put on your build. You could probably still get it with minimum weight, but that's not going to have enough brick wall to be like a viable center. If you ask me, I think it's just going to be bronze probably. But and then on top of that too, you don't really get as much viability in terms of the driving contact dunks, which again, I'm sure most of you don't care about, to be fair, but you never know. When you want to be a pick and roll center, it might be important to be able to get driving contact dunks just off the fact that like rotations might get to you and stuff. But again, this is like some pro-am talk, to be fair. Anyway, long story short, I think 7'1" is a really underrated height. I think it's going to be something that maybe doesn't get played quite as much as the footer does, but I think it could still be really viable. But again, I'm the kind of guy that doesn't really gravitate toward tall builds in general in the first place. So when I recommend to you a 7'1" or a 7-footer, it's because I think that's what people are going to gravitate toward, but I'm not the type of guy that really prefers to play on tall center builds. I prefer speed and mobility over height and dominance, if you will, because I feel like the dominance can still come from driving dunk meter or standing dunk meter, something like that on a 6'10", rather than the size kind of just being what's like tough to deal with as is. But I'm the kind of guy that believes speed helps rebounding too. I think when you go from a pick and roll and transition into trying to get down below the hoop where the board is going to be, but you're too slow to get down there because you were just setting a screen for your guard, I think that's a problem, if you ask me. But hey, like I said, I'm not here to steer you any which way. I'm just here to give you my opinion. But anyway, 7'2", I think a very likely unpopular build height going into 26. I just feel like, once again, if you look at the neighboring heights, 7'1" is going to be really popular and good, or maybe not really popular, but I think it's like the tallest you can be while still being able to play on the court without being a problem, I guess, is if you get what I'm saying. But then the thing with 7'3" is, and let's use 7'3" as the better equivalent of comparison, because why make a 7'2" when you could just make a 7'3" if they're going to keep the speed thing the same? Like, again, understand that this test is a little bit skewed and different, because if I would have just made the build at 7'3" 1 pound heavier, it'd be the same speed, but that's still like having equivalent speed at a whole inch of height difference. What's the point in being 7'2" when you could just be 7'3" instead then? And I don't even know how likely it is 7'3" really gets played. I called it a reasonable height, and I think it's something that could be like plenty viable, but I think most people, if you make a post score, are just going to want to make a 7'4" anyway. Or I think the hype beasts of the community are just going to want to make a 7'4" anyway, because it's the new height. It's something brand new. It's been like probably who knows how long, probably 10 years, if not more, since we've got a new height added in 2K. So I don't know. I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of 7'2", 7'3" at all in this game, but if you wanted to go with either of the two, I say why not 7'3" over 7'2" if you're going to have the exact same speed. If anything, when it comes to these big heights, the taller you are, the faster you move naturally. Like come on, let's be real. The difference between a 5'9" guard having 90 speed versus like a 7'4" having 90 speed, let's be real, that 7'4" would be a freak in nature, and the 5'9" wouldn't really be anything that stands out like crazy. So naturally, if you're just taller while having the same speed, you're going to be better. It's just kind of how I view that personally. But anyway, moving on to the 7'4", we already talked about this mostly. I mean, I think most people are just easily gonna just gravitate toward this as a post score. Why not be the tallest you can possibly be in the game? And like I told y'all too, if mashing becomes a little bit of a problem and it's hard for like 6'8", 6'9" builds to even guard a 7'4", it creates another like 1 inch of height of discrepancy between the tallest build in the game possible and the typical builds that can guard everybody. Like, I guess what I'm saying is 6'8" can guard everybody, because if you were only able to create a 7-footer and only able to create a 6'4", and that was as far down as you could go, 6'8" is like pretty in the middle, all things considered, you know? But the further you keep stretching that, like if you were eventually able to make like a 7'7" center or something like that, you can't make 6'8" anymore and expect to guard that, you know? Like, so every inch of height that they keep on going up on the maximum is going to create even more of a problem for those typical build heights that can guard everybody. And naturally, I think 7'4" stands out quite a bit as something that can't be guarded by a 6'8". So I don't know. That's just my kind of foresight, if you will. If you want to listen to it, feel free to. If you don't, hey, I don't know how you made it this far in the video. So anyway, that's all for the video. If you did enjoy, feel free to drop a like, sub if you're new, turn on noties, all that good stuff. Like always, try to 1 to 1,000 likes. And if you made it to the end and you want to show your support, drop your favorite build height in the comments. Sure, support you all the way through. You could do anything like 6'3", 6'4", 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 7 foot, any of that stuff. Just drop whatever your favorite build height is in the comments. Sure, support you made all the way through to the end. So actually, I forgot to even rank them, and here I am editing the video right here. As you can see, I got to the end and I'm like, well, I didn't even do the ranking of any of these builds. So let me give like the top 3 real quick, and I'll just insert it right in the spot that I'm at. So 6'8", number 1, gotta be. It looks like the best build, bar none. Like, you can be a lockdown, you could be a back end, you could be point forward, you could just ISO with it, whatever the case may be. It looks like it's gonna be the best. I don't think it's by like a crazy margin, but I do think it will be at least the most common build, just because it fits into so many different molds. Now, I do think that I'm going to have to say I think 6.5 is the next best. I think this fits a lot of different molds too, like I just said, between guards, shooting guards, lockdowns. Obviously, that's about it, because those are the 3 types of facets that it can really even relate to. It's not like it's big men going to be 6.5 or anything like that. But I think this is definitely up there for number 2. And then what I believe to be number 3, in my personal opinion, I love the 610, but I know it's not comp, so I'm not going to say that. I think the meta at center, if you ask me, is going to be between 6'11", 7 foot. Now, again, I'm biased on 6'11". This is my kind of bag right here. I like the undersized big stuff, and it's about as big as I'd prefer to be while, you know, like still being able to be a center or a slasher. But I do think 7 foot is probably what you see most people make as like the 3rd most popular build height. I think a lot of bigs are going to gravitate toward this. It's just a natural thing. Now, technically, I think 7.4s will be popular, but I don't know if they're going to be good. That's the thing. And to be fair, this also kind of depends on the ability that the build has to play multiple different courts and areas. Because let's be real, I mean, this is going to dominate 2s and 1s, but outside of that, I don't think it's going to be on the court hardly at all. I don't know, you might see it in rec too, to be fair, so I can't rule that out entirely. But yeah, in my opinion, I think it's probably going to be footers to be the most popular big man build, 6'8" to be the most popular wing build, and then probably 6'5", if you want to call that a guard build, to be the most popular in that aspect. But 6'4" could also be up there, but I'm not going to call it the best by any means. I mean, it can't even get a standing dunk, for one. But I can't dismiss it. If I were to rank them, I mean, my video here should already explain how I feel about everything. Like, obviously, I think very highly of 6'4s and 6'3s. I think they'll be plenty fine and plenty good. All right, I was just making a joke. But anyway, that's my top 3 right there: 6'8", 7 foot, 6'5". But anyway, that's all for the video. I hope you all enjoyed. If you want to check out any other videos that we have on the channel, I've been dropping a ton of this like pre-game access content right here, and a lot of them have been sitting in the notes section like I did in this one, so at least recently. So if you want to check that out, feel free to. If you want to check out any of the dribble style tests, the floater tests, or any of the builds that I've been posting, feel free to check those out. But anyway, that's all for the video. Hope you all enjoyed. And that, take it easy, man. Peace.